It is possible to receive messages from anywhere. We can gaze into a crystal ball, at smoke rising from incense, at the sky and the clouds moving, into a fire or a candle flame. Mystery or the divine, or what others call God, is always speaking to us. And when we ask a question, we can receive answers. In this video, we're going to look at preparatory practices that we can do in order to get into the consciousness that is most conducive to receiving such messages and being able to interpret them. Much wisdom can be gained, so I emphasize this is something that is incredibly valuable to practice and to do. Now, when we do any sort of divination that does not give us images that we can interpret, such as the tarot, but even then, in fact, there's this vital step we want to take, which is to step out of ourselves or into ourselves. In other words, we want to let go of what is sometimes called the ego, our conscious thinking mind, full of wants, desires, our likes and dislikes, and our emotional lens of this current moment through which we see everything. Now, in my own experience, when I had my office on the most beautiful canal in Amsterdam, I would have people come in and I would host these group rituals and workshops. And sometimes we would have tarot cards in the ritual space in front of us. And I would open up the space to allow others to interpret what they saw. And this without any preparation. What was fascinating to behold was that each person saw something different based on how they felt, even though the card, when you look at it neutrally, had a very clear representation. So something that would be a card that was full of challenges might seem like something that was positive if there was an emotional desire underneath to want a positive reply. And so we want to move out of this, which brings me to the first step that we want to take when entering into oracular consciousness. Actually, so you have an overview, I'll go over all of them very quickly and then into each with a little bit more detail. So one is alignment. What alignment means in this connection is connection to more than just yourself. So it's not just about alignment, it's about feeling connected to the whole universe, to everything that is. The next step is to fall into yourself, for lack of better words. You will see what I mean when we go over this part. To disappear is another way of looking at it. We want to just be an open, spacious mind. And then next, we want to be in the state of complete and utter listening. And finally, have an awareness that is switched on and tuned in to what is happening so it can interpret the messages as they come. Now, let's go into each in just a little bit more detail. Alignment. An alignment, or what can also be a grounding practice, is essentially you're connecting to the earth. You are lining up all parts of yourself, so your souls, your breath, your flesh and blood, your greater knowing, your third eye, your intuition, and the stars above, the great mystery. So you're lining up with everything and basically in the practice coming into a state of mind where you are consciously aware of your connection to everything. And since the messages are coming in from the great mystery, it's quite essential to feel that way, that you are also part of great mystery. And then next we had to fall into yourself or disappear. Here, a few moments of closing your eyes, and actually for the alignment, I'll refer you to our alignment mini course, which you will find inside Book of Magic, or on YouTube, we also have free alignment practices. And the falling into yourself, the disappearing, it can be very simple, and as with most simple things, can take quite a bit of time. A favorite way of mine that I like to do this, and I believe I learned this within the Wildwood tradition, is to close my eyes and fall into the blackness, the empty space, the dark behind my closed eyes, until I feel connected yet disconnected from myself. So I'm no longer self. I am floating somewhere within me that is everywhere. And as we know, as above, so below, as within, so without. So when I fully tune in and go to such depth inside, I am everywhere and nowhere all at once. I let go to the best of my abilities, and to do this 100% amazingly is the work of a lifetime, but to the best of my abilities, I let go of my day-to-day wants, desires, my emotional state, and enter into as most neutral a state as possible. And here I will open my eyes again to connect with the medium in front of me, whether it be the fire, the candle flame, the clouds, the bowl of water, the crystal ball. And I will be in this deep state of listening. So you want to, in this state, stop thinking and just let things happen. It doesn't mean that you don't have any thoughts, but rather the quality of the thoughts change. So when we're thinking and we're actively thinking, we can become very aware of those thoughts being generated by our mind and being this reaction to what's going on with our lives, how we're feeling, and so forth. Whereas when we're in a deep state of listening, the thoughts that rise up in our mind can feel very surprising, out of the ordinary, like something we have never thought before, and very potent, precise, and poignant answer to whatever inquiry or question we might have, or any wisdom regarding a particular challenge in our lives that might be in front of us. And finally, for the interpretation, we want to be aware of what we already know. Let's work with the example of smoke. Is the smoke coming towards us? Well, something's coming towards us, quite literally. And so what I'm saying here is that everything becomes a metaphor, a message, a word. Is the movement quick? Well, something here is happening fast. Is it slow? Is it straight? And then relate these particular symbols and signs to the question that you have asked. For example, is it time for me to find a new job? That's a question that many of my clients in the past have had. And if the smoke is moving quickly and away from you, that might feel like a very strong yes. If it is very still and straight in a line, it'll say maybe wait a little bit. And while we have these ready interpretations, they must not override our intuition and the state of light trance that we are in when we do these preparatory rites. So what this means is, and let's work with the example of the smoke once more. You are sitting with the smoke. You have an inquiry. Your self is floating in the infinite dark, in the everything. You're connected to mystery. And you're listening. You're in communion with the smoke. And it is not necessarily the shape of the smoke, the way that I just described it, that gives you the answers. It can also be the thoughts that arise when you allow yourself, your mind, to drift and float along with the smoke. And you're just listening and paying attention to whatever comes up in those moments. Because all of that has meaning and holds within it answers. If it's something from the past, it can be something that needs to be worked on. If it's something that's not yet happened, it is a dream that can become true. And you will know in that state what exactly what is. Now, if for the first couple of times it doesn't quite work out, don't worry about it. It can take practice. It can be helpful to have a journal at hand and write things down as they come, or to just record an audio note with your app, or even if you have an old-fashioned audio note recorder, and then take a step back for a couple of days and then listen back to it. The answers will change. So sometimes what we receive in the immediate moment might not make sense. And this can often be the case if you're just starting out on your journey. It may or may not be. And in that case, it's useful to have a recording, to have a record of what came during that practice, and to then be able to listen back to it later and interpret it later when you feel a bit distant towards it. And that's that. This is the most simple version I can think of in how to prepare yourself and your consciousness for divining in this way. This could definitely be an advanced course as well down the line. Should this be something you want to see in Magic is Key, in the membership, or as a standalone course, do let us know. I'll see you soon.